they are working on the Facebook audio, not to worry for fans who are tuned in via the live stream. Now, we have some hot topics. We know one of the hottest topics, of course, today there was chaos in downtown Kingston this morning as the United Independent Congress, UIC, which is a third political party, they tried to lead a march on Gordon House. Now, hundreds of persons with placards gathered downtown to protest against the government's COVID response, among other issues. Now, though we the people have a right to protest, the police warned that the march is illegal because they didn't have a permit. The police also claims that they were in breach of the Disaster Risk Management Act, DRMA, which stipulates that no more than 10 persons actually must be gathered in any public place. The police arrested a number of people, including President of the UIC, Joseph Patterson, and Jamaica's representative for the Nation of Islam leader, Louis Farrakhan, Clive Mohammed. He was actually arrested during the middle of an interview with DJ Amber during the Easy Skanking today. Really, really wild. That in itself just sort of paints the picture and give you an idea as it relates to what happened. Now, we understand that the march is illegal and they did not get a permit. Nonetheless, they went out there. Now, because in my opinion, because the organizers of the march weren't strategic enough, they breached the protocols and ultimately put people in harm's way of getting arrested by the police. And did UIC... Did they get the people out there to basically carry out their agenda? Was that the larger issue under the guise of, what is happening now? Persons are frustrated, persons are fed up, these things, and they're passionate. So did they take advantage of that today? But what I would like to see, for instance, is under the DRMA, groups of 10 is allowed, right? So what if they had split up in groups of 8 with, say, 2 UIC members leading the charge? Would that allow them to protest peacefully, since they would be adhering to the rules somewhat, and you just go to different sections? Would that have been a better situation? I don't know, but you can communicate via WhatsApp so we can hear what you're saying. You can join the conversation, of course, via Facebook right here. Big up to Charmaine Archer, who is saying everybody have their right to go out and protest and let their voices be heard. Of course, but then there are also rules and regulations, and I feel like if the organizers were a little more strategic, it could have been done. And you have your groups of 10, 2 leaders, 8 persons, and you go ahead and peacefully do your thing. But to have 500 persons during this time, it is what it is. It is what it is as it relates to the Disaster Risk Management Act. And I know persons have varying views. You have some persons saying, they are not allowing the Jamaican people to protest. They're not allowing the Jamaican people to let their voices be heard. So we understand the system have some things in place. How do you go around the system while still keeping within the rules and regulations? Have your groups of 10. Still do your protest. Still let your voices be heard. Divide up everybody and handle your business. That's my opinion, and that's how I see this entire situation, because I cannot use my platform to encourage persons to break the law. And that's that on that. Now, in our discussion, and I'm bouncing off of you as well, I think perhaps maybe I should open the telephone lines for this discussion segment so we can, interact with the people who are listening. So on Monday, September 20, the White House said that the U.S. will require adult foreigners to be vaccinated for entry into the country, while adding a testing requirement for unvaccinated Americans and barring entry for foreigners who haven't gotten shots. No, with more shows and more tours happening in some sections of the world, and already we see where dancehall and reggae entertainers are flying out to go and do these shows, because ultimately each person have to feed their families. So we have to ask, what does this mean for the entertainment sector? What does it mean for reggae and dancehall entertainers who are not fully vaccinated, or for persons who are also anti-vaxxers? So we're going to open the phone lines and give our listeners an opportunity to participate in the discussion, participate in the conversation. The numbers to call are 974-5051, 974-5043, or 974-5079. So we're taking your calls so you can participate in the discussion. Big up to DJ Bones wherever you are. We hope that you are on your way so we can kick off the buzz and do it. But nonetheless, the show goes on, right? So we're taking your calls, and once you come through, we'll have that conversation. Coming up, we have NJ. He's our music artist, and we have Kiprich. We're going to be having a conversation with him. We also have Fashion Forward with Shamara Preston and DJ Lollipop. And we have Maisha Browdy, and she's going to talk to us as it relates to At the Movies. And don't forget that we'll give you our Guinness Top 10 live right here. Big up to West Lion, who said upfulness. So while we wait for the call, so we're actually taking telephone calls from our listeners is what we're doing. So big up to our telephone operator, Shanae. You can send the calls in from our listeners right across Jamaica and around the world. Once they call in, you can punch them in. So we're talking about our conversation right now. We're talking about what's happening in the U.S. We know once the U.S. sneezes, Jamaica and the rest of the world, especially Jamaica, will basically react and know that they're saying that, look, if you're not vaccinated, no entry. For persons who are not vaccinated, yeah, pretty much no entry. And you have to show that you are fully vaccinated in order to gain access to the country, and only persons who are Americans will be allowed to do testing. What does this mean for the entertainment sector? Will we see some persons falling back on their words, some of the loudest voices? What does this mean? Was it a situation where some people were just, all talks? Let us see what happens. Only time will definitely tell. All right, so we're going to go for a quick break. When we come back, more inside the EBUZZ.
Hey, yo! It's Bounty Killer in the building. Check it out.
The number one station.
Come on in. I refer of it lock. Them have the number one slot.
All right, welcome back to the EBUZZ. My name is Kishima Francis. I am riding solo. I don't know where DJ Bones is, but pick up yourself, DJ Bones. So in the meantime, I think I'm still waiting for your telephone calls. I'm just waiting for Shanae to send the calls in to DJ Lollipop so we can get that going. And we're taking calls from our listeners so they can participate in the discussion. I'm going to see how many of the messages via Facebook I can actually go through right now and get the live reactions. Big up to Bobette, who says good night. Big up to Chevelle Parker, says up and running. Big up, of course, Eddie Fisher said we need the police and military on our side. Protests might turn a lot of them against us. We do not need unnecessary enemies. Choose your battles wisely. Tact, cunning, and ruthlessness. Politicians are the enemy, not their pawns. All right. People are participating. People are commenting across our social media platform. Julius Clark says, we're hearing you loud and clear over here in Montego Bay. Big up to our friends locked in Mobe. Shanti Johnson says, unvaccinated COVID patients on why they changed their minds about the shot, and is sharing an article via ABC News. It is going to be an interesting conversation, especially for persons who basically came out and they're holding hard and fast as it relates to their belief, their stance. And let us see, some people will change their mind. Some people will go against their initial beliefs because as we can see, this is the direction of the world. Unless you are going to do what a lot of our true Rasta men and women have been preaching for years and talking about, retreating to the hills. Once you want to plug into society, there are certain things that you will have to conform to because it is not just Jamaica, it is the way of the world, and we're seeing it where more persons are closing their borders, they're locking down their country, they're not granting access or entry unless you are fully vaccinated. So if you don't like their rules and regulations, then, stay in your country and do you. Eric Graham said no peaceful march is illegal. Police could get out there and ask them to. I agree with you. In essence, you're basically saying that the situation could have been dealt with differently. And I know a lot of persons are peeved as it relates to the type of hostility and the brutality as it relates to the police and the protesters, and especially when they actually went and nabbed the head of the United Independent Congress. He was not resisting arrest, but then there was, of course, perhaps, in my opinion, unnecessary roughness regarding that situation. So, sometimes it is not what, but it is also the how we do things, and we can always handle situations differently. I don't foresee we're getting any telephone calls. DJ Lollipop, can you tell me what is happening?
There's no callers yet. Still anticipating some calls, though.
Still anticipating some calls. All right. So before we wrap up this segment, we have a few moments. I think I will get your opinion on this subject, Pop. So on Monday, September 20, the White House basically said that the U.S. will request adult foreigners to be vaccinated for entry into the country, while adding a testing requirement for unvaccinated Americans and barring entry for foreigners who haven't gotten shots. No, lots of shows are happening. Some entertainers are already on tour, and they're enjoying just that opportunity to be able to perform for their fans again. Do you think what do you think this means for reggae and dancehall entertainers, and also selectors and promoters like yourself, who will have to adhere by these rules and regulations if you actually want to get into the United States, for example?
I just don't think it's a good look, And I mean, even though they said you have a choice, it just doesn't seem like you have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you get me. So I think it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. But in truth, Pop, every country can have their own rules and regulations. If you disagree with it, then do not go to that country.
But sometimes it's that country you have to go to make that extra dollar, right?
And that is where we will have our nannies and our tackies and our Paul Bogle and our Marcus Garvey and our Malcolm X and our Martin Luther King. That is what is going to separate the pack now, because you have some true people who will believe in what they believe in. They're going to stand for what they believe in regardless of what is happening. And then you have those who will bow to the pressure and do otherwise. And I think that is what makes us so colorful as humans. We're all different as a people.
Yeah, I totally believe that, and I agree with you. We have to fight for a cause and stand for something.
Mm-hmm. And Fitzmeeks on Facebook is saying, yes, you have a choice. You can get it or don't make that extra dollar. And ultimately, that's what we're saying. So the choice is ultimately yours. Eddie Fisher again is saying Rastafarianism and Garveyism have all the answers for the prosperous, harmonious, and natural society. Too bad we are all fascinated and captivated by AI, artificial intelligence. Natural intelligence is being observed. Big up to Schoolers Jamaica. Say, look here, good conversation. There was a comment that I want to read. Oh, Eric Graham is saying no peaceful march is illegal. The police could get out there and ask them to keep the distance. No, let us just go back and what we're just using the data, the information, right? that we're getting. So we're just keeping it at that. We're not just ranting or becoming overly passionate to the point where we're not seeing some information. So according to the rules and the law, they're saying that the Disaster Risk Management Act, DRMA, stipulates that no more than 10 persons must gather in any public place. So because the peaceful protest, one, they did not get any permit for the hundreds that gather. So because of that, they were in direct breach of the Disaster Risk Management Act.
You think the government would ever grant a permit to protest against him? So when they're talking about this permit,
they have granted permits in the past for people to do their protest. I have protested. I've been a part of several protests through IRFM platforms. I've protested against the GMO. I've protested against the system. I've protested against the government. I've used all my platforms to burn them out. And we are assessing this situation. I'm saying that the United Independent Congress, UIC, what they should have done, still have your march, still have your protest, but be strategic enough to understand that this is what the system is putting forward. Okay, you can have 10 persons. So you will use 2 persons from your United Independent Congress to lead each group of 8. And you have you have your clusters of 8 in a social distancing format, whether you want them to walk 2 abreast or whatever, but you are not in breach. Big up to Wiggy D. The numbers to call are 974-5051, 974-5043, or 618 or 974-5079. What were you saying, Pop?
I was saying the more the merrier. And I feel like if there was 8 persons,
it is, but you're also missing my. You're also
feel like they
missing.
still selling police anyways.
But that would put them in a different position now, because you would be adhering to the regulations that is there. You're in your clusters of 10 in different zones, right? Still have your protest in different zones, but you have your clusters of 10. You have your placards just the same, but you're not out there in your hundreds, where in truth there is a clear breach, because sometimes you have to understand the system. I saw the system set, you're not bowing to the system, but you're finding solutions because you understand that this thing is necessary. This thing is needed. But sometimes we get so caught up in trying to fight the system, and you already know how that fight is. There are several ways to tackle a battle, to tackle situations, and a strategy win war.
I think we have a call. We have a call on the line right now.
Buzz through, caller, you live. Hello?
Hello.
Hi, what's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Adrian Ellis, a.k.a. Cadenza from Kentucky, Westmoreland.
All right, Kentucky, Westmoreland. Adrian, you said, which topic in particular do you want to talk about, Adrian?
Well, I'll talk the topic, no vaccine. With me again, the protest where the people them are protest today. So,
Adrian, I'm not hearing you. I hear you clearly say no vaccine, and I trust, that is your stance, that is your position. You have your right to choose, and you're doing just that. And there are different ways to keep your immune system in tip-top shape. There are different ways to keep your immune system healthy. I'm not here to tell anybody for or against. Ultimately, you do what you have to do. You understand and you know your reality better than anybody else.
Yeah, what I'm using to build my immune system now is the honey with the ginger, turmeric, onion, garlic, Spanish.
So you use lemon too?
Yeah?
Yeah, man. Honey, ginger, lemon, garlic. Look, you know what is up. Big up yourself, Adrian. Thank you so much for calling through and sharing with us.
Yeah, and have a good night.
Yeah, man. Good night to you too and bless up.
Tell Lollipop say me need to send me some them to him. How we can get them to send to him.
Him just I hear you. So what you do before you hang up, Lollipop is gonna transfer you to the telephone operator, and she's gonna give you an email address that you can send your music to. But big up yourself, DJ Lollipop. Take the man music, man. What you deal with? Big up to the peeps on Facebook. I see the messages coming in. I am absolutely loving it. Dwight Lewis has this perspective, Pop. He's saying it's not fair for the people them in the U.S. is violating the people rights. They got their mother there and they got their father. The people them got their son and their daughter there. So ultimately, no, it comes down to it is their country and they're saying they don't want you in their country unless you are vaccinated. If you disagree, then I guess you will have to use other methods to communicate with your family. Thankfully, the technological age allows us to Zoom and video call and telephone calls without going to a call box back in the day. So there are different ways how to do it. It just comes down to how many of us are as brave as Nanny. How many of us have that warrior spirit like that of a Taki? How many of us are like Paul Bogle, Sam Sharp, Marcus Garvey? How many of us will stand up and how many of us will bow to the pressure? Ultimately, that's what it comes down to each his own.
Good question.
How many of us?
How
don't
many
it?
of us? I don't think we have any more Nanny and Paul Bogle and Marcus Garvey.
Crazy how you said that, but somebody via social media today said that how Jamaicans were back in the day, where principles and norms, certain principles and norms were front and center, and people would abide by these norms and principles, and they were firm believers of what they believe in. Now I think persons are easily bought, easily swayed. The foundation, the belief system, everything has changed, and we're not fighting evolution because we understand that it is necessary for growth. But yeah, what things are going? Why am I can't chat in? Jeez. So it is time for Fashion Forward. No, not Fashion Forward. It's time for At the Movies. And when we come back, we're going to be having a chat with our music artist, NJ.
Lights, camera, action. Hey movie lovers, welcome to At the Movies. I'm Maisha Brody. Hollywood giant Walt Disney Company said the rest of its 2021 films will screen exclusively in cinemas before being made available for streaming. The decision is a boost to struggling entertainment venues, with major films during the pandemic debuting online at the same time as in theaters. Marvel's Eternals is among the films that will get a theatrical debut. It comes after Disney's successful theatrical release this month of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Ten Rings, which tells the story of a former assassin forced to confront his power-hungry warlord father, took in over $120 million globally in its first weekend in cinemas. The film is being made available exclusively in cinemas for its first 45 days before coming watchable on the subscription Disney Plus streaming platform. It's now time for this week's Top 5 movies. At number 5, we have the movie Reminiscence. At number 4 this week is Vacation Friends. The Protégé takes the number 3 spot. At number 2, we have The Last Mercenary. And in the number 1 spot this week is Kate. That's a wrap. Join us next week for more exciting movie news. For At the Movies, I'm Maisha Brody.
right. Thank you there, Maisha, for At the Movies. I did promise you that when we come back, we're going to be having a conversation with our music artist. And of course, our music artist tonight is Nugent NJ Walker. NJ, welcome to the EBUZZ.
Hi, thanks for having me.
All right. I'm not hearing NJ there. I am seeing you on video and everything, but I'm not hearing NJ. NJ, can you hear me now?
I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me?
No, I'm not hearing NJ. All right, so our team is sorting that out. But for persons who don't know, Nugent NJ Walker is actually Usain Bolt's manager and friend, best friend, actually. Now, NJ has gone into the entertainment world along with Bolt, and tonight he's our music artist, Country Youths. Yeah, so much to talk to NJ about, and I'm really hoping that NJ can hear me now. How about now?
Hello? Hello?
Hello? I see you saying hello, NJ.
I don't know.
I don't know what's going on. So big up, of course. I know Peter Broadby is working hard behind the scenes to make this a reality really soon. So of course, you know, Country Youth is running really fast, up lots of mega charts. They're doing lots of great things. I don't know if you have gotten an opportunity to listen to the album yet, but for me, I listened to the album and it's taking me through all these different vibration. You know, you have a love vibe, you have a party vibe, and then you have a positive vibration in it. So much to talk to NJ about. Peter, give me a signal, give me a text, let me know if we're up and running. How about now, NJ? No? All right, let's listen to something from Country Youths in the meantime. DJ Lollipop, drop something.
We life alright, we not pray that generation will